Hello everybody, welcome to Monongahela Music Monster at Dig Sonic Podcast. My name is Tim. If you tuned into our first podcast, usually my friend and co-host would be sitting either here or here, but sadly she could not make it today, Kelly. She does say that she loves and misses you all, and we'll see you next time. Today in the studio though, very exciting times, we have Toria Susan, and she will be accompanied this afternoon with Scott Hazuda on keyboards. How you guys doing today?
Good, how are you?
Very well. Thank you for coming on, I appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
Alright, so let's get right down into it. So, what was the start of your interest in music? Where did it begin for you?
So growing up in the late 90s, early 2000s, I was very inspired by the pop stars of that time, Britney Spears, Christina, all of the big ones of the early 2000s. And Britney was my first CD. I remember playing it in a portable CD player until it went out. And it's funny because, I don't listen to pop anymore, but that was kind of like the start of it. And growing up in a family of everybody listening to different things from like country to rap to pop, Madonna, jam bands, I had a lot of inspiration there. And my mom also plays, so she played music with me growing up. And then it wasn't until later that we started playing together.
Okay, very cool. So, you mentioned Britney and Christina. Do you still use those musical influences in your writing process? Do they still influence your music today at all?
They do not as much. No. No. Christina, I guess, a little bit. I mean, I always wanted to, like, belt it out like her, even though my music is, like, softer now.
Oh, she has a beautiful voice.
Yeah, in the back of my mind, I'm like, you should just belt it out, but it doesn't happen.
So, when was the moment you realized that you wanted to put all of your efforts into singing songwriting?
It wasn't until later. Like, my first year of college wasn't until I, like, wrote my first song. Pretty much all my life I had wrote, like, lyrics and poetry that I wanted to turn into music, but just struggled with turning it into a melody and a song that I, like, felt matched the way I felt when I wrote the lyrics. So my first year of college, I wrote my first song, Tangled, and I put it on SoundCloud, and from then I just realized that felt right, and that was kind of the style I wanted to go for, kind of that dreamy, just, like, raw feel of singing and writing songs.
Right on. Where and when was your first performance, and what was that experience like for you?
I think it was at the Keene Theater. I did a Keene Idol. I'm pretty sure when I was like maybe 9 or 10, I sang Vanessa Carlton's 1,000 Miles.
Did you have an accompaniment with you, or like were you playing guitar for that show?
No, it was like a karaoke background.
You and the stage, pretty much.
Yeah, it was it was bad.
Intimidating.
Yeah, I was wearing this like awful blue turtleneck, and I had like a bowl cut, and I was singing that song, and it was like, the biggest song of that time. And I remember being up against this like older woman, like in her 40s, who was singing opera, and I was like, okay, well, I'm definitely not going to win this Keene Idol.
That's a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, is guitar the only instrument that you compose with?
It is now. I used to play piano. I played piano for like 7 years, but I never really got very good at it, and I can't read music, and I would like to circle back to it and like play around on piano to write in the future, but right now it's just guitar.
Okay. What is your writing process, and how did you find it? Like, when did you realize that this is the process that worked for you?
It mostly starts with lyrics. I have like books of lyrics, and I put them in my phone, and sometimes they just like pop in my head, and I try to like ride that inspiration, even though it's at all the weirdest times. It's not when I like want to sit down and write. And then I take those lyrics and I try to find the guitar that matches it, and I embarrassingly don't really always know the songs or the chords that I'm playing, so I kind of just play around until it feels right and it feels like it matches the vibe of the lyrics.
Okay. How much of your music is written about your personal experiences?
Pretty much all of it. I would say it's all very personal. Sometimes I even have songs that I don't love to play out because I feel like they're like a little too personal.
Gotcha. Understand. All right. Now we're getting to the tough ones. What is your favorite song or songs, and why?
That's hard because
Yeah.
I have a lot of favorite songs and they're all within different genres, I would say. I think Amy Winehouse's Love is a Losing Game is one of my favorite songs. Weirdly enough, Neil Young's Cowgirl in the Sand has always been one of my favorite songs.
Okay.
One of the first I played on guitar, I didn't play it like Crazy Horse or anything, but I played just like the simple chords to it. And I would say Donny Hathaway's I Love You More Than You'll Ever Know is another favorite.
There you go. That's a good jam. So, if you were having a bad day, what would you be listening to lift your spirits?
Well, I guess I'm the type of person that listens to sad music to get sadder, so I usually don't play anything like upbeat. So I usually go for like some Amy Winehouse's older stuff, or I go like an opposite or just a different direction and listen to like rap or hip hop and try to like, dance it out, I guess. It sounds weird, but...
Dance until it feels better.
Yeah.
I get that. All right, so if you could collaborate with any songwriter, who would it be and why?
I think somebody like Frank Ocean. I think he's a really interesting artist and kind of like genre bending, and I feel like, we could make some interesting music that kind of further bends the genres of like, love songs and different beats and things like that.
Okay. Right on. So, so you have a couple songs prepared for us, right? So would you like to take the first one? Take it away.
Sure. The first one is Diamond Days. My diamond days come and go. They sparkled and glistened away. Now all I'm left with are stones. I keep hoping they'll change. I've romanticized the past. I was foolish to think it could last. I gave my diamond days away, and I have to live with that. If some days are diamonds and some are stones, I wish I could go back to when my diamond shone. But I'm blinded by the memories of my brighter days. My diamond days, they still shine. It's the rocks that clutter my mind. Pretty things catch my eye. They give me temporary joy, and though they are dull inside, their novelty passes the time. If some days are diamonds and some are stones, I Looking back, the rose-colored glass. Looking back, the rose-colored glass.
Oh, wow, that was awesome.
Thank
That was
you.
a beautiful song. Nicely done.
Thank you.
Very nicely done. So the song's called Diamond Days.
Yeah.
How new of a song is that? Is that a newer composition for you?
It's probably about a year old.
Okay.
I wrote it a little bit based off of the lyric from Tom Petty, Some Days Are Diamonds, Some Days Are Rocks. And my mom loves that song, and we were actually playing it, and it kind of inspired me to think of that song where, you sometimes romanticize the better days, but, there's the good days ahead as well.
Right on. So speaking of inspiration, your bio on the Dig Sonic website mentions that you sometimes will pull inspiration from nature. Do you have a favorite destination or one that's most memorable to you?
Yeah, I would say the most memorable would be growing up. I kind of grew up like a little bit country. We had horses and a big pond, and I was just outside all the time. So a lot of my most fond memories are from that time, and I definitely pull from that a lot.
Okay. Is your music your only creative outlet?
It's the main, but I do write poetry as well. A lot of time the poetry I kind of turn it into the songs, so it never, I guess, stays as a full poem, but I do enjoy writing poetry.
When did you get into writing poetry?
Probably in high school. I definitely, it was before I was figuring out how to write songs. I more so kind of just scribbled down poetry whenever I could instead of turning it into a melody.
Okay. What was the best show, your favorite show or concert that you have attended in your lifetime?
It would probably be Glass Animals. Saw them a couple years ago, and it was just like such a fun show. We had a great time, and I actually took my boyfriend, and he'd never even heard of them before, and we were having a blast, and afterwards he started listening to them, and I think that was like a good testament to you go into a show and don't even know them, and afterwards become a fan. I think that was really cool.
Were they playing in Pittsburgh, or did you have to travel out of city to see them?
Yeah, they were at Stage AE, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. So, in your opinion, for a band, which is more important? Is it the lead singer or the drummer, and why?
I don't know. I would say they're both important in different ways, although there are a lot of bands without singers. There's not a lot of full bands without a drummer, so I think in a full band you definitely need that rhythm and that tempo. But I don't know. That's a tricky question, I think.
Yeah, that's hard. That's just a matter of opinion. I think if your drummer is no good, the rest of your band is kind of it doesn't matter how good the singer is. I feel like
that's
so
true.
If you can't,
you have to be on beat, or it's hard to listen to. Yeah.
So speaking of bands, have you ever played in a live band or ever considered doing it?
In high school, I did, end of middle school, beginning of high school, I was in a band with friends, and we played at, the talent shows and school events, and it was fun. We all had, different musical tastes, and at that time, I was really into, female-led bands like Paramore and Flyleaf, and I really was, emulating them a lot. And then later in high school, for a short period of time, I was in a band with another group of friends, and it was more, hardcore, and we wrote a couple songs, and they were all just very angry. Okay. And then we never did anything with it. So I would love to do it again, though.
Do you still speak to those guys?
Not really. Friends on social media, but no, I don't see them anymore.
Right on. So how often do you use emotion as fuel for your songwriting?
Pretty much all the time. I'd say the main emotions when I'm writing or when I think of lyrics are nostalgia and melancholy and things like that. Those are the main ones, I guess.
Have you ever studied music in school or through lessons? If not, is it something you've ever thought about?
I have. So I took piano lessons for a good while. My mom really kind of pushed me in that direction, but I didn't love it. I think if I went back now as an adult, I'd probably enjoy it more. But my teacher was always really frustrated with me because I couldn't read music and I would just like memorize the songs instead. And then I took voice lessons for like 4 or so years when I was a teenager. And that was probably like the most memorable and like impactful because it really helped me like control my voice, and my teacher didn't push like reading music on me. It was more so like control and taking care of your voice so you don't blow it out, you don't hurt it in the long run. And then I did go to a charter school my junior year of high school, and I didn't really like flourish there. I missed my friends a lot because it was like an hour away, and I just wasn't doing very well in like the composition classes. But then I realized that I didn't, have to be excelling in classical music to like be writing songs, and I still continued to play covers and just like kind of teach myself on the guitar.
So that was kind of like a kind of freeing for you to be like, oh, wait a minute, there's this realization that like, I could just do this. I could just do it.
Yeah, it definitely was, because I always felt so bad, like something was wrong with me that I couldn't like grasp playing or reading music. Like I always felt like I was doing something wrong, I wasn't trying hard enough, but then I realized like I don't really have to, sometimes it would help like with knowing the notes I'm playing, but I've gotten this far without it. So
what are your goals in music?
I think to just stay true to myself and like the style I want to go for, especially with the label, making sure I don't like just write a song because I think it's going to be catchy, instead like write what feels true to like the lyrics and how I felt at the time of writing it.
Is there an album you feel like should be mandatory listening, and why?
I don't know. There's so many artists and so many opinions. There's been so many like albums that I like obsessed about in the past. I guess the past couple years it's been SZA. I really liked her. It's one album that I like always listen to front to back. And I think that her songwriting is really interesting. So, but I don't, everybody has a different musical taste.
Well, all right. Would you play another song for us? I'd appreciate it.
Yeah. So this one is called Morning Dove.
like I was wearing sunglasses and forgot to take them off there for a second. I was like, wait a minute, what happened?
No, that was quick.
What happened? Okay, so, again, very nicely done. Is that a newer song, or is that something you've had in your stockpile?
So the lyrics for that I've actually had for a long time, but I guess I wrote it about a year ago, and I love the sound of mourning doves, and for the longest time I thought they were an owl, but then I realized that they were a dove, and I just I know, I feel like they sound so much like an owl, because you always hear them like at night at the end of summer, and it's like a very nostalgic feeling. Kind of reminds me of like childhood and, you know, late nights at the end of summer, not wanting it to end. So
it brings back a lot of cool memories.
Yeah, definitely.
That's always good stuff. So how did you actually come to be involved with Big Sonic Records? How did they approach you? Like, how did that process work?
So actually through my friend Eric Henry, who plays at Fire at the Point. Right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I worked with him for a long time, and he just approached me and said that his, you know, friends and bandmates were starting the label, and that if I wanted to come out and talk with them, and I thought that was really awesome. And then I met with him and Bill, and then 2 weeks later, 2 or 3 weeks, was signing the contract, and it just felt right, like talking and hanging out and like, you know, realizing that they had so many great ideas for the label.
Right on. Now, had you ever worked with a record company before, or been in a recording studio? Is this your first experience?
I've recorded before just through kind of random people that I knew or friends that I knew, but never been with a label. And I didn't actively like seek one out because I wasn't sure if I, you know, since I don't have a huge following online and I'm not great like with social media, if that would be like a deal breaker. So I never really sought it out, but I'm glad that, you know, this all worked out.
Right. So what's your experience been like working with Big Sonic so far?
It's been great, really helpful, and they've taken all my ideas and even all my uncertainty about like what I want my sound to be, and just like rolled with it and been so helpful with connections and connecting me with Scott, who has just generously helped with, you know, these couple songs with like, you know, going towards a vibe that I wanted, because they were just acoustic and I knew I wanted that more dreamy vibe, and he was so helpful with like going through all the different sounds and directions that we could go. So it's been really great.
Oh yeah, it's been beautiful so far. What's the biggest difference between working independently and working through a label?
I'd say the biggest difference is just the opportunity with like promotion and you know, playing shows, even though we weren't able to do that recently. But you know, that's just so helpful, because when you just apply to shows as just like someone random, they're not always gonna look at you, or they're gonna like take you more seriously when you're with a label, I think, for like bigger shows and festivals and things. And yeah, the promotion and the networking has been so helpful.
So do you have any ideas about what music you'll be using for your first Big Sonic release? Is that something you've been thinking about, or?
Yeah, so I have like 9 or so songs that I definitely want to be in like an EP or an album. Diamond Days for sure, and I would love to name the album Diamond Days, and yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Are you going to try to write any new material for the album, or are you just going to use stuff that you already have?
I'm not sure. I have a lot of kind of like unfinished songs, but I know I want them to go in a certain direction. I even have a song that I, you know, want to kind of take in this direction of more like a harder rock song, I guess, which I've never done before. So, you know, these half-written songs that I want to like have a little more direction and just like different vibes to them.
Right on. All right, so you have one more for us? Play us out if that's okay, if you do.
I can, yeah. This is called I Smiled Back. She was there in the purple flowers, lavender and lilac. I smiled back. She was there. I tried on all her jewelry, in awe of her beauty, silver and gold. He stood still in black and white. He's the one on the right, she said to me. in me, but he looked right through me. He never knew me, never knew me. I smiled back at the flowers and the jewelry in the photograph in black and white as my sister read a poem and he headed home. He headed home. Okay.
Done too.
I messed up a little, but that's all right. Thank you.
Thank you for coming out again. I really do appreciate taking the time. It does mean a lot to us. Beautifully done to both of you guys. Very beautifully done.
Thanks so much.
So, right now I do got a couple things I'd like to mention. So if you go to www.digsonicrecords.com, we are taking submissions for other bands to come in and sit down and sit in Toria's seat. We can get to know a little bit more about you and get some cool information. So if you go to that website, you can find a submission form. Let us know what you're about, and we'll get back to you. Also, check that website also for updates when Toria Susan's record will be released. It will be updated, and we'll keep you in the know. Again, guys, thank you much. I very, very appreciate you.
Thank
So
you
from Monongahela Music Monster, this has been Tim. Listen local, and I'll see you next time.
Sean!
Sean! Sean!
Can I hit stop?